no doesn't always mean no. A lot of times it means not right now. Like, really, maybe someone really doesn't have the money right now, or maybe someone really does have to talk to their husband about whether it's a good fit, or maybe there. I mean, this idea that someone has to make a decision to spend a significant amount of money with you in like a 30-minute call is so ridiculous. Like, no other industry operates that way. And I really don't, it's something I really stand against in the coaching industry, because if you have a sales conversation, say, with somebody, and they leave feeling empowered, and they leave feeling good, and they leave feeling like they actually have an action plan, and they know the steps that need to be taken, they could take those steps with you or by themselves. Chances are, when the time is right, they are going to want to work with you, right?
Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified when the next video comes out. It only takes 2 seconds to make 2 clicks. So let's do it. Let's get back to the video. Hello, 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 Fearless Freedom Tribe. This is Dr. G, and we are back for another exciting episode of the Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast. And today, friends, we have Cooper Gillespie with us. And Cooper's going to tell us all about what she's up to and who she is. Take it away, Cooper.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, so I am a manifestation and spiritual business mentor. And essentially, I help people get unstuck and rock their most abundant, expansive lives. And I use a lot of different tools to do that. I use neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, EFT, Reiki, all the tools, meditation. But yeah, so I think every tool is good for different things, different blocks that people have.
Awesome. And so we are always curious when we hear something like you just said, how did you even get into that? Like, how did you get there?
Well, like so many people in personal development, I had a very dark night of the soul where I was in a very bad place and very hopeless. And I had my sort of come to Jesus moment, as it were, right? Where I had to decide what kind of life I was going to live. And it's kind of a crazy story, but my mom invited me to go on this cruise. And I was like, sure, I want to go on a cruise. And then she explained it was an Abraham Hicks cruise. And she asked me if I knew who Abraham Hicks was. And I said, no. And she proceeded to explain that Abraham Hicks was like this primordial being or beings who were channeled through this older lady named Esther Hicks. And I was like, oh, heck no. Like, I am not going on that. That sounds crazy. No, 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 no. And then my mom was like, listen, you only have to go on one Abraham thing, and then you could just enjoy the rest of the cruise. You don't have to go to any more Abraham things.
Okay.
So I was like,
All right.
okay, I could do that. And so I went to the one Abraham thing, and I'm so glad I did, because that one thing changed my life. Because I heard for the first time, I know, it's crazy. I heard for the first time a message I had never heard before. And at this point, I was 33 years old. And that message was, you have the power to change your life. You could create your life. You could do it. You could create whatever you want in your life. And literally, I did not know that until that moment. And after that, I became so empowered and wanted to help everybody with all the things, but I found that I could really help people figure out that they had blocks or that they were stuck, but I didn't know how to actually get them through those blocks. And that's when I went on the epic decades-long journey of learning all the tools that I have now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was there any fear involved in that? Did you have fear going on the cruise? Did you have fear, was there any fear with starting everything?
Oh gosh, every day there's fear. I mean, that's part of I think that's part of being human. Well, I think that what I've learned in my time on this earth is that it's okay to feel afraid of things. Like, it's okay. then the question becomes, what do you do with that fear? Do you use it to propel you, or do you allow it to keep you stuck? And so I guess the difference that I had from that day was I no longer allowed fear to keep me stuck and small. And instead, I helped use it to help propel me into a more healthy direction, and help other people. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
there's a lot of fear then, and even now there's times, building a business, there's a lot of fear that comes up, and it's just using that fear as fuel as opposed to having to keep you stuck.
No, that's awesome. That's a great pearl, because I think that a lot of people, they get stuck, they fall into that mode, and they don't necessarily use it as the fuel that's going to push them forward to do the thing anyway, right? And
Mhm.
that's huge. That's a big, big pearl. And then so tell us about, so you got done with the cruise, and you're on this mission to help as many people as possible. And how did you decide what's the first, because you said it took you a couple decades to acquire all the skill set. Well, how
Yeah,
did you
it's like
decide what the first thing was going to be? Like, how did you decide that?
initially I just came back and I was just jazzed. I just wanted to tell my friends and family, like, hey, did you know you have the power to create your life? And they're all like, what happened to you on that cruise? But I basically started coaching people in my life for free. I didn't know it was coaching at the time, or just trying to help them with things they were going through. And I really didn't even, I mean, I'd heard people like Marie Forleo and stuff, but I really didn't think that being like a coach of any kind was going to be anything in my life, and so I just learned a lot of the tools for myself and to help people I knew, and I didn't really think, oh yeah, this could be something that I could do as a business until
Right.
much later, until about 15 years later or so, when I was like, oh, this could actually be something that could be a business, should be a business, because it can really help people. um so so yeah, it was a long journey of really doing a lot of personal development work for myself before I actually uh, decided to actually take it out there and make it a business and help other people. Yeah.
Wow. And so when you got to that point, were you afraid of, maybe now you were doing this naturally, and then now you're like, I don't want to say it has become unnatural, but you've like converted it now to a business. And now with businesses, there are bottom lines and all of these other things that come along with it. Did that
Uh-huh.
cause you any anxiety or angst?
Um, I think I think that the first thing that caused angst was showing up in that way of, this is my business, right? Because before I had done this, I was a teacher. I was an English teacher.
Okay. Okay.
And
Fantastic.
so to be like, peace out, I'm gonna be a coach, was a there was a lot of fear around that, and a fear of being judged, which in the end, no, I don't. If anyone judged me, they haven't said it to my face, but I don't think anyone did. I think now that they thought it was cool that I went out and did my own thing, but at the time I had a lot of fear about that. And
Sure.
and then and then as far as charging people, I do have a lot of thoughts on this, because I do think, like, even Mother Teresa said, it takes money to make the world go round. So,
Yes.
she said something like, it takes a checkbook to change the world. I think that's the exact quote. And I think that's really true. Like, for better or for worse, money is the currency of power in our world. And so, yes, you need to get paid to do your work, whether you're a spiritual person or not. However, I think in the coaching industry, there is this very wounded masculine. I'm saying it in air quotes because we're not talking about
Yeah.
gender. We're
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about this sort of very pushing energy of that is all about closing people, and getting as much money out of people as you can, and all that, which I'm so against all of that. And I teach my students in a much different way than that, because I think there is a way to make a good living while really, really serving people, and not have it being about like how much money you're going to make and how many people you're going to close and how many programs you can get someone to sign up for. That's not what I'm about at all.
No, I love it. I think that's good. And I'm sure that that energy that you are talking about, that it allows for abundance to happen, right? I mean, because if you're like that, your attitude like that, then what happens is people see it and they don't feel like you're just looking at them as like I don't want to say meal ticket, but you know what I mean. But they're not, you're not seeing dollar signs when you see them. You're actually seeing somebody that you want to make a difference in their life, right? Which, you know, people
Yeah.
appreciate that. They can sense that. And then if they do, they're apt to tell friends about you. And, you know, it basically blossoms like without a whole lot of effort when you
Yeah,
have that approach and that energy. So, yeah.
totally. And
Yes.
I always tell people it's like no doesn't always mean no. A lot of times it means not right now. Like really, maybe someone really doesn't have the money right now, or maybe someone really does have to talk to their husband about whether it's a good fit, or maybe there. I mean, this idea that someone has to make a decision to spend a significant amount of money with you in like a 30-minute call is so ridiculous. Like no other industry operates that way. And I really don't, it's something I really stand against in the coaching industry, because if you have a sales conversation, say with somebody, and they leave feeling empowered and they leave feeling good and they leave feeling like they actually have an action plan and they know the steps that need to be taken, they could take those steps with you or by themselves. Chances are when the time is right, they are going to want to work with you. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I'm glad you share that. And then so I'm curious now. The transition from teaching, I mean, basically you went from teaching to teaching, right? I mean, that's basically what has happened.
Yes. But
Just
it's
a
a
different
much different
context.
context, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
different context
Yeah.
and content. But
Yes.
like
Yes.
so were you what level were you teaching for English? Was it high school or middle school or
Yeah,
college?
ninth grade. I taught.
Ninth
I
grade.
started off teaching junior high, and then I taught ninth grade, which I love ninth grade. I think it's like the best. I mean, it's a fun age to be around because kids are really starting to become. They're starting to, they're not little kids anymore, and they're starting to kind of figure out how to be an adult in the world a little bit, but they are still little in a way. So
Yeah.
it's a nice sweet spot. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds great. Sounds like you were a
Yeah.
fun teacher too. I was like, I'll be in
I
your
tried to
class.
be. I mean, I tried to be because I just remember school and like the teachers that could make learning fun and engaging. I was all about them. But the teachers who made it really not fun, I mean, I didn't learn anything. I still can't tell you anything about hardly any history because my history teachers were always so bad, which is crazy because history should be like the most exciting subject, right? So I guess I always strove to be a fun teacher. And I think the thing that made the difference was that I always treated my students with respect, like that they were human beings who had valuable opinions and things. And because I remember being a kid and hating that adults would treat me like, oh, you're just a kid. You don't know
Yeah,
this because you're just a kid. And that used to drive me bananas when I was a kid. So I was like, the one thing I'm going to make sure I do is treat all my students like they are human beings who are smart, who can have opinions and are worthy of voicing those opinions. I think that made a
nice,
big difference.
nice. Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. Hey, it's Dr. G, and I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank you for listening to this episode. I'm so honored to have you here with me. Did you know that I can help you to get your own podcast started? With my podcasting launch course for professionals, I walk you through everything you need to know about starting a podcast. I'm with you every step of the way from sign up to launching your show with 5 episodes ready to go. There's a done for you version that's also available. If you would just rather just do recordings and leave the behind the scenes work up to us, then that one is definitely for you. But either way, we've got your back here at Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Oh, if you already have a show and you need production services, we have monthly plans available for you. So check out the links in the episode show notes for more information. Let's get back to the show. And then so how are you like advertising? Like do you advertise? Like do you have a website or
Mm-hmm.
something?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have a website, coopergillespie.com, and I have all my programs on there. I also do like right now I do some organic things, like I'm a part of
Okay.
different bundles and things, which is really great. And I do use Facebook ads. I think, I remember I had a mentor once who was like, I grew organically to my 70,000 followers or whatever. And I'm like,
Really?
well, you could probably
Really?
do that back in 2011,
I was
but
gonna say,
now,
yeah, no, I don't know about that one.
yeah, now it's like, with Facebook ads, I don't spend a lot of money on them, but even $10 a day can make a big difference in your
Oh yeah,
business. And so
absolutely.
I definitely always have something going on over there. And I encourage people I know a lot of people get afraid of ads, which I understand why, because if you don't know what you're doing, they can be really afraid. But I highly recommend people figure it out because it's a game changer for your business for sure. And there's lots of people out there who teach things, who have a philosophy like mine where they're not trying to charge you an arm and a leg to
Right.
learn something.
No, that's good. And then
Yeah.
you have to make sure you spell your last name so people can actually go to the right place.
Yeah, it's G is in girl,
Yes.
ILL, E is a Sam, P is a Peter, IE, Gillespie. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah.
I
Okay.
I always said like Gillespie, like Dizzy, but I guess you have to be a jazz fan to know who Dizzy
Yeah,
Gillespie
most
is
people
because
don't
a
know who
lot of
Dizzy
people
Gillespie is.
most people
Yeah.
did. And then I used to say Cooper, like Gary Cooper, and there came a point when I was like, oh, I must be getting older because now no one knows who I'm
Nobody
talking
knows who Gary
about.
Cooper is. I mean, I know who Gary Cooper
No,
is, but
yeah,
I'm also
yeah.
probably closer to your age group than than most
I
people you're
know.
talking about.
He was like the original Babe. How does no one
Right,
know who he
exactly
was?
right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
And so like what so you talk about how you help people to have breakthroughs utilizing all of the tools in your toolbox that you
Mhm.
described. Um what is the most common situation that you encounter?
Oh man, I think a lot of times there's two different things. Either people don't know where to start. They're so overwhelmed they just don't even know they have something they want to do and they just don't even know where to start. Or they lack confidence to start. Those are the two things that I see the most. And the good news is both of those things can be, solved, or I don't know if you want to say solved, but can be transformed into something that is actually helpful. And you can actually move through that stuff. I like to tell people, like, absolutely, you don't have to stay stuck or like you don't
Right.
know where to begin or feeling unconfident. There's lots of ways to get past those things.
And then what about do you dig into fear ever when you're dealing with your clients? Like do you ever
I
have to dig
do.
and figure out why is it they don't want to start?
Yes. So I do deal with fear, but one thing I always like to preface that with is because sometimes fear is like, if it is really something like a phobia, or if someone is diagnosed with something, I can't, it's out of my scope of practice. You have to be like a doctor or someone to actually deal with those things. So when I deal with fear, I guess it's fears that are not diagnosed type of things.
Right.
Yeah. So all pretty much all of the fears that I help people with originate in childhood in some way, right? From those
Mm,
ages of 0 to 7,
yeah.
when we're really forming as little kids. Uh,
Yeah.
Pretty much every fear tracks back to that. And that's why using tools like hypnosis or like NLP that really work with the subconscious mind in a lot of ways is really helpful, because a lot of that stuff is very subconscious and we're not even necessarily aware that it's keeping us stuck. Like we might have things that we learned as kids that we don't even know are our ideas, and there's something that someone else put in there. I always use money as a great example because one of my money mentors said how you do money is how you do everything, and I think that's really true. And we all have a lot of emotional feelings about money, right? So if you were a little kid and you saw mommy and daddy fighting about paying the bills or something, you may have formed this belief that money causes strife in relationships. And you may, as an adult, not even be aware that you carry that belief, but you just don't want to deal with money because it makes you feel bad. And you may not even know where that fear or that bad feeling comes from. And it stems back to that memory from when you were really little, was seeing your mom and dad fight, so
Wow.
viciously about it.
No, that's a
Yeah.
great one. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild.
That is
There's more where
wild.
that came from.
There you go. Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. Wow. And then so like so you do you do programs. So are you doing like one-on-ones? Is this a group type of situation, or is there like self-study type of situation? Like, how do you deliver?
Yeah, so I have all sorts of different things. I have all sorts of
Okay.
different types of things. People can work on with me one on one. I still do take on occasional one on one clients, and I still do take on occasional one to one hypnotherapy clients. I
Okay.
do have a I do have a self study manifestation course, which is pretty powerful, which teaches a lot of the techniques that I talk about, but for people who are not interested in becoming coaches, they just want to learn for themselves. And then I have a coaching certification, the Becoming Infinite method, that teaches practitioners how to use these tools to go out and spread the ripple of light across the world, help, healing themselves and healing their clients with these tools. And then I have, so I really like in my business to have things that are very low cost to things that are more significant investment. So obviously my certification is the most significant investment because that's a year-long thing and you're with me like twice a week and it's a whole thing. But I also
Right.
have like a $7 spiritual business membership. So you can work with me in that capacity for $7 a month. So I like to have, really affordable things for people and higher ticket things for people if they want to work more intensely with me. And I think that's a good way to do business.
That's pretty smart. Yeah. Because then that way you're able to make a greater impact, right? Which ultimately is beneficial to everybody involved.
Yeah. And for me, that's one of my business values is making an impact and helping as many people as possible. And so for me it really works. I guess if that wasn't someone's business value, then maybe it wouldn't work for them, but it works for me.
Fair. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then, so do you feel like there are fears that you're facing now as the business is growing? Are you having to deal with new fears?
Oh yeah, totally. Just being here is me conquering a fear because honestly that is sort of the level that I'm at right now is becoming way more visible. I mean, I have no problem, posting on Instagram every day. I love Instagram, by the way. Come hang out with me at Cooper Gillespie. But I love that. Like, I have no problem being seen in that way. But showing up on podcasts and guest posting and articles and things, that's sort of the next thing that I'm focusing on. And
Yeah.
that there's some fear that comes up with that because well, for a lot of reasons, but especially just that, oh my gosh, this is gonna live forever. Like, what if I say the wrong thing or what? All that comes up, and I think it's just about using that fear for fuel and going like, screw it. I'm going to go on and come from a heart centered place. And I'm sure it's all going to be good.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. Awesome. 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 And then is there anything big that you have planned for next year? We're at the end of the year for 2022. So everybody's like, well, what is your big plan for 2023? Is there something amazing that's gonna happen?
Yeah, for me, it's really just expanding my coaching certification. I really want to get, you know, I would love to enroll, I don't know, like 100 women in my coaching certification for next year. That would be amazing. So that's my big goal is just like continuing to make that the biggest, baddest coaching certification out there. Cause I feel really passionate about it because especially in the coaching industry, there is this thing where it's like, okay, you take this certification and now you need to take their next certification in order to get this next thing. And then
Oh,
you
I
need to
see.
join the mastermind in order to get this next thing. And then pretty soon you're like, I've spent $30,000 and I still don't have a business, right? And I want to do away with that. So my coaching certification is like, you get everything you need and a full year of 2 times a week coaching with me
Right.
to make sure that you have a business and are making money by the time you leave because I'm so sick of that in this industry. So I'm really passionate about expanding the enrollment and getting more people who want to be coaches involved.
Awesome. 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 Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, this is such a cool conversation.
Yeah.
We have a lot of love for coaches, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I am a firm believer in coaches because every time I need to do something, I usually get a coach because I know that that's going to get me to the goal a lot faster than, I mean, I guess I could potentially do it on my own, but you just get there a lot faster and you probably go a lot farther than you initially anticipated with a coach.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I've
Absolutely.
always done that because I feel like coaches are very valuable. So
Yeah, we feel
cool.
a good place. And I see, I don't know if you've read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, but in that book, he talks about how everyone, even millionaires and billionaires, have that upper level when they need help breaking through that, right? So no, it doesn't matter. They always say new level, new devil. It's like no matter what level you are at, there will be some block that comes up. And sure, you could try to, take the $12 Udemy course or do the YouTube videos and try to figure it out. It just might take you a lot longer, but having a coach to be there to help you move through that block can be very powerful. It's been powerful in my life anyway.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. No, fantastic. So we are at the point in the show where we're gonna do fill in the blanks. Are you ready, Cooper? Ready to fill in the
I'm ready.
blanks?
Bring it.
Okay.
Bring it.
Okay. Cool. 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 All right. The first one is, if I am fearless, I will.
If I am fearless, I will live in my truth, be my authentic self all the time.
Love it. Love it. Love it. The next one is, to me, fearless freedom means.
To me, fearless freedom means living in my own skin.
Awesome. Awesome. And the next one is, my battle cry is.
My battle cry is hell yes.
Awesome. 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 What a pleasure. What a pleasure to have you on the show, Cooper.
Thanks
Thank
for
you for
having
taking,
me.
yeah, no, absolutely. And thanks for taking time out to share your magic, and just let us know once again how we can reach out to you, your website info.
Yeah, coopergillespie.com. And I'm sure it will be spelled in the show notes, but it's Gillespie. And then Instagram, I'm at Cooper Gillespie. Come hang with me.
Awesome. 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 Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Again, I'm Dr. G. And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe so that you can get notified of when the next episode is going to be. And also, I'll catch you next time. Have a great one. Be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.